How to read people without them knowing. Stoic philosophy. Have you ever wished you could truly understand what someone is thinking beyond the mask they wear? In today's fast-paced world, we often get lost in the words people say, but their real feelings lie in the subtle, unspoken signals. Imagine walking into any situation and sensing the hidden emotions and intentions without anyone realizing. That's the power of reading people effortlessly. I remember a time during a business meeting where everyone's words seemed agreeable, but the tension was clear in their posture, the nervous taps, the quick glances, revealing much more than their polite smiles. The truth is always in the details, in the body language, in the silence between words. In the modern world, mastering this ability is like gaining an edge in every interaction. So, are you ready to uncover this hidden knowledge and elevate your understanding of human nature? Welcome to Stoic in Your Life, where we explore the Stoic art of perception and uncover the unseen. Let's dive in. 1. The Tell Me More technique. One of the simplest yet most effective techniques for understanding people is the Tell Me More approach. This technique is not about trickery or manipulation, but rather about creating a deeper connection and understanding by simply listening. It's a method that doesn't require any special training or complicated skills, just 3 simple words. Tell me more. By using these words, you invite others to share more of their thoughts, emotions, and experiences. Marcus Aurelius, a prominent Stoic philosopher, once said, "It is the power of the mind to be unconquerable." Through this lens, the Tell Me More technique becomes a tool for personal growth, an opportunity to practice empathy and strengthen your relationships. I first realized the power of this technique in a seemingly trivial debate about whether pineapple belongs on pizza. I was ready to argue my point, but instead, I took a breath and said, "Tell me more." What happened next was nothing short of amazing. The conversation shifted from pizza toppings to a deeper exploration of my friend's childhood memories, personal preferences, and even emotional experiences that had nothing to do with food. In that moment, I understood that this technique could unlock layers of a person that are usually hidden beneath the surface. This simple act of listening changed the entire dynamic of our conversation, making it not just about pizza, but about understanding who they truly were. This concept aligns perfectly with Stoic philosophy, particularly the teachings of Marcus Aurelius, and the idea of maintaining composure and presence in conversations. Stoicism teaches us to remain calm observers, focusing not on controlling others, but on controlling ourselves and our reactions. When you say, "Tell me more," you're exercising patience, suppressing the urge to interject or impose your opinions, and allowing the other person to express themselves fully. This practice of restraint and empathy gives you the chance to see beyond the words and perceive the intentions, emotions, and vulnerabilities of the speaker. In a world where everyone is quick to talk but slow to listen, this technique can set you apart and help you build deeper, more meaningful connections. In modern life, where social interactions are often hurried and shallow, the Tell Me More technique offers a breath of fresh air. Think about the last time you were in a meeting or social gathering and felt that the other person wasn't really listening. They were just waiting for their turn to speak. We all know how frustrating that can be. Now imagine flipping the script. The next time someone shares something with you, whether it's an idea at work, a complaint at home, or a passionate opinion, pause, take a moment, and simply say, "Tell me more." This small action can change the entire tone of the interaction. You will notice that the speaker becomes more open, more engaged, and more willing to reveal not just their thoughts but their feelings and motivations as well. I recall a negotiation in which I used the Tell Me More technique. Instead of pushing my agenda and trying to outmaneuver the other party, I focused on listening. Every time they made a point, I responded with, "Tell me more." Slowly but surely, they began to reveal their entire strategy, their concerns, and their priorities. They became so engrossed in explaining their perspective that they forgot to protect their position. This wasn't about manipulation, it was about understanding. As the Stoics would advise, I remained calm, observant, and non-reactive, allowing the other party to speak freely. In the end, I gained far more insight into their needs than I ever would have through forceful persuasion. As Marcus Aurelius wisely noted, the best way to avenge yourself is to not be like that. Instead of engaging in a battle of words, I chose to observe and understand. The beauty of this technique is that it's applicable in every facet of life, whether in business, personal relationships, or casual conversations. Tell me more. Fosters an environment of trust and openness. People drop their defenses when they feel truly listened to. It's in these moments of vulnerability that we gain real insight into who they are and what they value. Stoicism teaches us to act with virtue, and listening with empathy is one of the highest forms of virtue. By setting aside our own ego and genuinely engaging with others, we create space for authentic connection. This is particularly important in today's fast-paced world, where distractions are everywhere and genuine listening has become a rare skill. Think of the times you felt unheard in your own life. How did that make you feel? Now consider the impact you could have on others by being the one person who truly listens. By employing the "tell me more" technique, you're not only improving your understanding of others, but you're also practicing a core Stoic principle: empathy. Epictetus, another great Stoic philosopher, said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This timeless wisdom reminds us of the importance of listening more than we talk. In family gatherings, heated debates, or casual chats, the dynamic often shifts when someone feels truly heard. I once attended a family dinner where a relative brought up a controversial topic. Rather than diving into the argument as everyone else did, I decided to say, "Tell me more." To my surprise, the conversation quickly moved from the contentious topic to a heartfelt discussion about personal experiences, emotions, and fears that had shaped their viewpoint. This is the power of listening. It transforms a potential conflict into an opportunity for connection and understanding. The lessons of Marcus Aurelius and Stoicism are more relevant today than ever. In an era of constant noise, where everyone is eager to make their voice heard, choosing to listen can be a radical act. By asking someone to tell you more, you're not just gathering information, you're creating a space for them to be themselves, and in that space, real connections are formed. This technique is a reflection of Stoicism in practice, staying calm, present, and allowing others to express themselves without judgment. Ultimately, the "tell me more" technique is not about gaining an advantage over others. It's about understanding them on a deeper level. It's a simple yet powerful tool that allows us to apply the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius and the Stoics in our everyday lives. The next time you're in a conversation, remember to take a step back and say those 3 little words. You might be surprised at how much more you learn, not just about the other person, but about yourself as well. 2. Watch how they treat people in a lesser position. One of the most powerful ways to truly understand someone's character is to observe how they treat people in a lesser position, those they believe hold no power or influence over them. This is where their true nature is revealed, not in how they treat you or their peers, but in how they behave towards individuals they deem insignificant. This might feel uncomfortable to acknowledge, but it's a profound insight into human behavior. Take a moment to think about it. When you're out at a restaurant or checking out at a grocery store, do you notice how the people around you treat the waiter or cashier? How someone interacts with those in service roles can often tell you more about their real character than hours of polite conversation ever could. I remember a story from my own life that taught me this lesson clearly. I used to work with someone who, on the surface, appeared incredibly charming and respectful. In meetings, they were always polite and professional, saying all the right things. But then one day, we went out to lunch together, and I saw a side of them I hadn't seen before. From the moment we sat down, their tone shifted completely. They treated the waiter like they were invisible, barking orders, being dismissive, and showing a complete lack of basic courtesy. This person had carefully crafted an image of kindness and professionalism at work, but in that moment I realized it was all an act. Their treatment of the waiter wasn't a slip-up. It was a window into their true nature. This person was only kind when there was something to gain, and when there wasn't, they revealed who they really were. In modern life, we're often so focused on our own goals or how people fit into our lives that we overlook these small yet revealing interactions. But these moments are always there if we pay attention. Imagine you're at a job interview. While the interviewer might be friendly and enthusiastic with you, take note of how they treat the receptionist or the office staff. Or when you're on a date, watch how your companion interacts with the restaurant staff. It's easy to put on a friendly face for those you want to impress, but the true test of a person's character is how they treat people they think have nothing to offer them. This is a key principle in Stoicism, which teaches us to observe without judgment, seeing things as they are. Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius often emphasize the importance of self-awareness and humility. In this context, how someone treats others, particularly those with less power, reveals their true character. It's easy to be gracious and kind when there's something to gain, but the real measure of integrity is how we act when there's nothing on the line. Think about the people in your life. Have you ever noticed someone being kind and respectful to everyone they encounter, no matter their position? I've learned to use this principle in all areas of my life, whether it's in friendships, work relationships, or even while dating. It's like a silent test of someone's character. If someone shows basic human decency to everyone they meet, from the janitor to the CEO, that's someone worth keeping in your life. But if they act dismissively, as if they're better than others, that's a red flag that says a lot about who they truly are. This principle goes even deeper because how we treat others is often a reflection of how we see ourselves. Those who are secure in who they are don't need to put others down to feel important. They don't use their position to belittle anyone because they're not threatened by others. On the flip side, people who are rude or dismissive to those they consider beneath them are often revealing their own insecurities. They need to step on others to feel taller, which exposes their lack of self-respect and confidence. It's important to take this lesson and apply it not only in reading others, but also in reflecting on our own behavior. How do you treat the people around you who you might perceive as having less power or influence? Do you offer the same kindness and respect to everyone, regardless of their status or what they can do for you? This is a question worth asking ourselves regularly because it's a practice in humility and empathy, both of which are core teachings in Stoicism. We are all part of the same human experience, and how we treat each other matters. The next time you're in a social setting, whether it's at work, in a casual conversation, or even on a date, don't just pay attention to how someone treats you. Watch how they treat the people around them who they think don't matter. How do they talk to the waiter? Do they acknowledge the person cleaning the office? These subtle interactions are the most reliable way to see through the masks people wear. The truth of someone's character isn't found in grand gestures or eloquent words. It's in the small moments, the everyday actions that reveal who they really are. So, remember that the true test of character is not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. It's not about how we act when everyone's watching, but how we behave when we think no one important is looking. The next time you're getting to know someone, pay attention to how they treat those they perceive as having less power. This is where their true nature will show itself. As you navigate your relationships, friendships, or even work dynamics, keep this principle in mind. And perhaps more importantly, reflect on your own actions. Because in the end, how we treat others, especially those who can do nothing for us, reflects who we truly are. The real measure of a person's character lies in those small, seemingly insignificant moments. 3. Their past is the key to their present. If you want to truly understand someone, delve into their past. People often say the past is behind us, but in reality, it's never really gone. It shapes every aspect of who they are today, often without them even realizing it. Their experiences, traumas, victories, and relationships are constantly influencing how they think, behave, and interact with you in the present moment. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus wisely stated, "We are not disturbed by things but by the views we take of them." This means that how someone perceives and reacts to the world around them is largely colored by their past experiences, whether they're aware of it or not. Understanding someone's past can be controversial because it suggests that people don't just move on, they carry their history with them, often as an invisible blueprint for their actions. I once had a friend who always seemed to be on edge. They were overly defensive, quick to anger, and extremely cautious in relationships. Initially, I assumed it was just part of their personality, but as I got to know them better, I learned about their past. They had been deeply betrayed by people they trusted, experienced financial hardship, and grew up in an environment where they constantly had to prove their worth. Suddenly, their behavior made sense. Their defensiveness wasn't a random quirk. It was a protective mechanism shaped by a history of hurt and betrayal. This understanding can also be extended to other areas of life. A person who grew up feeling neglected may, as an adult, constantly seek attention or validation. Someone who's been deceived in business may now view every potential partner with suspicion. These reactions aren't necessarily about the present situation but are echoes of past experiences. This doesn't mean making excuses for someone's behavior, but rather recognizing that they may be acting based on unresolved issues from their history. As Marcus Aurelius advised, everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. When you understand the weight of someone's past, it becomes clear that their present actions are often their way of navigating the world through the lens of their own history. This insight is particularly valuable in relationships. Have you ever dated someone who seemed perfect at first, but then certain patterns started emerging? Maybe they became overly jealous or struggled with commitment. More often than not, if you dig deep enough, you'll find that their past relationships have left unhealed wounds. It's the fear of being hurt again that drives their behavior in the present. Recognizing this doesn't mean you have to tolerate toxic behavior, but it gives you an understanding of why they might be acting the way they are. People often find themselves stuck in cycles, repeating behaviors learned from past experiences, sometimes without even realizing it. It's like they're trapped in a loop, reliving the same patterns over and over. That coworker who constantly seeks validation? They might be replaying a childhood where they never felt good enough. The friend who sabotages every relationship? They could be responding to a deep-seated fear of rejection that stems from past heartbreak. These reactions, habits, and decisions are like a mirror reflecting the unresolved parts of their past. Understanding this can offer you a clearer perspective on their actions and help you decide how to interact with them. But this understanding goes even deeper. By recognizing someone's past, you not only navigate your relationship with them more effectively, but might also help them break free from these cycles. If you can gently point out the patterns they're repeating, you might help them become more self-aware. As Seneca said, "Most powerful is he who has himself in his own power." Helping someone become aware of their past influence on their present actions is like handing them the key to their own self-improvement. They might finally confront what they've been avoiding for years, and in doing so take steps toward breaking those repetitive patterns. Stoicism emphasizes self-reflection and constant improvement, both for ourselves and in how we interact with others. By understanding someone's past, you offer them an opportunity for growth. It's about seeing beyond the immediate actions and recognizing the deeper currents that drive them. This doesn't mean you excuse harmful behavior, but you approach it with a more empathetic lens. You can protect yourself from getting too entangled in their unresolved issues, while also offering a path for them to move forward. It's easy to judge people based solely on how they act right now, but when you understand that their past is the key to their present, it unlocks a deeper understanding of who they are and why they act the way they do. Remember, this isn't about excusing behavior, but about gaining insight. The more we understand where people are coming from, the more effectively we can interact with them and foster genuine connections. As we navigate through modern life, filled with complex relationships and interactions. This awareness can be a powerful tool in not only reading people better, but also helping them, and ourselves, to grow. Understanding others is not just about observation. It's about empathy, patience, and a willingness to see beyond the surface. And in doing so, we might just find a way to bring more compassion and clarity into our own lives as well. If you've ever witnessed someone's true character emerge when they thought no one was paying attention, drop a simple yes in the comments below. Let's see how many of us have noticed these subtle but telling moments. 4. Sudden changes in tone. Signal lies or hesitation. One of the clearest indicators that someone is lying or hiding something is a sudden change in their tone of voice. Our voices often betray the truths we try to conceal. When someone speaks with confidence, their tone is steady, their pace even, and their words flow smoothly. But when a lie or hesitation creeps in, everything changes, sometimes subtly, other times dramatically. It's as if their subconscious mind is waving a red flag, hoping you'll notice. I had a coworker who was always the epitome of charm and confidence. He knew exactly how to deliver his words with ease, never missing a beat. But one day, while discussing a project deadline, I noticed a shift. His usually upbeat tone became quieter and slower, almost hesitant. It was an immediate sign that something was amiss. Sure enough, he hadn't made any progress on the project and was trying to cover it up. That change in tone was a dead giveaway. He wasn't being honest, and his voice had revealed it before his words did. Why does this happen? When people lie or feel uncomfortable, their body and mind go into a state of conflict. The brain is busy trying to maintain the facade, but the body, specifically the voice, can't help but reveal the stress. This conflict often results in a higher pitch, a crack in the voice, or an unnatural pause. It's as if their words and tone are out of sync, signaling that something isn't right. Consider the last time you caught someone in a lie. Did their voice become quieter? Did they start speaking faster or with a forced cheerfulness that seemed out of place? These are all signs of discomfort, indicators that the person might be lying, hiding something, or unsure of themselves. The voice acts as a subconscious cue, reflecting internal turmoil. It's not just about catching lies. Sudden changes in tone can also indicate hesitation or uncertainty. I had a friend who was always enthusiastic about our plans, but whenever I suggested something she wasn't keen on, her tone would change instantly. She'd go from excited to monotone in a heartbeat, signaling that she wasn't fully on board, even if she tried to say otherwise. These shifts in tone happen in all kinds of interactions, relationships, business deals, casual conversations. You've probably noticed it too. Someone goes from being upbeat and friendly to defensive or evasive in seconds. Even if their words don't match the shift in tone, it's in these moments that you need to pay attention. A sudden drop in energy, a change in pitch, or an awkward hesitation can be the subconscious's way of signaling that the person is holding back or being untruthful. Now, let's bring in some wisdom from the Stoics. The great philosopher Seneca once said, "Truth lies open to everyone." When people's tones change suddenly, it's not always about deceiving others. Sometimes it's about deceiving themselves. When their voice shifts, it could be because they're uncomfortable with the lie they're telling themselves. This discomfort seeps into their voice, giving them away. Stoicism teaches us to observe without judgment, to see things as they are. By tuning into these subtle shifts in tone, we can get a clearer picture of someone's internal state. This isn't just about catching others in a lie, it's also about understanding our own behaviors. How many times have you said something you didn't fully believe in and noticed your own voice falter? Your tone becomes a mirror reflecting your inner doubts. This is why the Stoics emphasized aligning your thoughts, words, and actions. Marcus Aurelius advised, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." When our inner and outer worlds are not in harmony, it shows. often in ways beyond our conscious control. So, next time you're in a conversation and notice someone's tone shift unexpectedly, whether it's a drop in energy, an awkward pause, or a change in pitch, don't brush it off. Listening closely to these tonal changes gives you a window into the person's internal struggle. Maybe they're not telling you the whole truth, or perhaps they're wrestling with their own beliefs. Whatever the case, their voice is their tell. It's not always about catching them in a lie. Sometimes it's about understanding their inner conflict. In modern life, we're surrounded by polished presentations and carefully crafted narratives. People are taught to put on a brave face, to say the right things, to project confidence even when they're unsure. But the voice often betrays what lies beneath. It's not just in words, but in how they're delivered that you can discern someone's true feelings and intentions. By asking these questions, you open up the possibility of a more meaningful interaction. And remember, we do this to ourselves too. Pay attention to your own tone when you speak. When you align your voice with your true thoughts and feelings, you project authenticity and clarity, which is at the core of Stoic practice. So, next time you're in a conversation and notice a sudden change in someone's tone, whether it's a shift to a quieter voice, an unexpected pause, or a forced enthusiasm, don't ignore it. As Epictetus taught, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. In that spirit, let the voice guide you to a deeper understanding of the person behind the words. Their voice is their tell, and if you listen closely, you'll hear the truth every time. By honing this awareness, you not only become more perceptive of others but also more attuned to your own inner dialogue, fostering a greater sense of honesty and self-awareness. 5. The power of silence. Silence, often overlooked in a world where people feel the constant need to fill every gap with words, can be one of the most powerful tools for understanding others. How someone reacts to silence tells you much more than their words ever could. Whether they become visibly uncomfortable, hurriedly try to fill the silence with meaningless chatter, or remain calm and composed, these reactions provide deep insights into their emotional state, confidence, and level of self-assurance. In Stoicism, one of the central teachings is about controlling our emotions and reactions, and silence is one way to observe whether someone has mastered this control or whether they are ruled by insecurity. Epictetus, a renowned Stoic philosopher, wisely said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This piece of wisdom speaks to the importance of listening, not just to words but to the reactions that occur when nothing is said. In life, silence can feel uncomfortable for many people. We live in an age of constant communication, where gaps in conversation are often seen as awkward. But here's the thing. Silence, when used wisely, can be a strategic tool in reading people. Imagine a negotiation scenario where, after making your proposal, you remain silent. This pause often compels the other party to keep talking, and in that extended dialogue they may reveal more about their position, their insecurities, or even their real intentions than they would have if you'd filled the space yourself. Silence forces others to confront their own thoughts and allows them to expose what they might otherwise try to conceal. This is where their deeper feelings often come to the surface, and it's not something they do consciously. It's a natural human response to avoid the discomfort of unspoken moments. When people are left with nothing but their own thoughts, they either try to fill the silence or reveal their true selves. This dynamic is something you can observe in everyday interactions, whether it's in professional meetings, casual conversations, or even personal relationships. The power of silence is particularly useful in high-stakes conversations. Take, for example, a situation where you're trying to resolve a conflict. Instead of rushing to fill every pause, allow the other person to sit with their thoughts. In many cases, the silence gives them the opportunity to reflect and reconsider their stance. It also allows you to gauge their comfort level. Do they stay calm, signaling confidence in their position, or do they begin to squirm and backtrack? The way someone reacts to silence often reveals their internal struggle. In a world where most people are eager to speak, those who master the art of silence stand out. They become better listeners, more in tune with the subtle cues that others miss. This is where Stoicism comes into play, especially when we reflect on Marcus Aurelius's teaching. The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. In silence, you can observe whether someone has that calm mind or if they are unsettled, and from there, you can gauge their strength and confidence. I remember a story shared by a mentor during a business negotiation. He sat across from a partner who was clearly nervous about the terms of the deal. Instead of pressing the issue, my mentor made his offer and remained completely silent, maintaining eye contact but saying nothing. The partner, visibly uncomfortable, began to reveal his true concerns, overcompensating for the lack of response by talking through his strategy. By the end of the conversation, my mentor had gathered more insight than he would have through hours of discussion. It wasn't manipulation. It was simply using silence to let the other person reveal themselves. This is a perfect example of how silence can work in your favor, giving you an advantage in understanding people's true intentions without them even realizing it. In conversations, whether they are professional or personal, people often feel the need to speak continuously to avoid awkward silences. But silence can be the most revealing part of an interaction. When you give someone space to speak freely and then allow for a pause, you're not just showing that you're listening. You're creating an opportunity for them to think deeply and perhaps reveal more than they planned. Silence is not only a tool to read others, it also gives us the opportunity to reflect on our own emotions and responses. Stoicism teaches us the importance of self-control, and silence is an excellent practice for that. When you allow yourself to sit in silence, especially in moments of discomfort or conflict, you are practicing the Stoic discipline of not reacting impulsively. Silence gives you the space to process what's happening around you and within you. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. In other words, silence helps you focus on what you can control, your own thoughts and actions, while giving you clarity about the situation at hand. The next time you're in a conversation, especially one that feels emotionally charged, try to resist the urge to respond immediately. Instead, take a moment of silence, and you'll find that not only does it give you a clearer perspective, but it also helps you better understand the person you're speaking with. You apply the power of silence in your daily life? Start by becoming more comfortable with pauses in conversations. Whether you're in a heated debate or just chatting with a friend, try leaving room for silence and see how the other person reacts. Do they rush to fill the gap, or do they remain composed? In negotiations, after making a key point, resist the urge to over-explain or fill the space. Just pause and observe how the other party responds. You'll be surprised at how much more people reveal when you allow them the space to do so. This is especially true when people are trying to hide something or are uncertain about their own position. Their need to fill the silence often leads them to disclose more than they intended. Silence is a powerful tool that goes beyond words. It reveals character, exposes hidden emotions, and gives us insight into the true thoughts of others. As you navigate your relationships, conversations, and negotiations, remember that what is left unsaid can often be the most revealing. The ability to sit in silence and observe without immediately reacting is a skill rooted deeply in Stoicism. Epictetus emphasized the importance of listening more than speaking, and this simple yet profound idea can change the way you interact with others. Next time you find yourself in conversation, embrace the silence, observe, and let it guide your understanding. 6. Emotional reactions reveal priorities. To truly grasp what someone values, observe their emotional reactions across different situations. Emotional responses are an unfiltered glimpse into a person's inner world, revealing priorities and values that they might not even voice out loud. It's often said that we're masters of hiding our emotions, but when someone reacts strongly, be it through anger, excitement, or anxiety, it's a clear indicator that their response is deeply connected to something important to them. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This insight tells us that while we may try to control how we appear to others, our emotional reactions often betray the truth of what we hold dear. Let me share a personal experience. I once worked with a colleague who was typically calm and composed. Nothing seemed to rattle him, and he was always the picture of professionalism. However, during a routine meeting, someone casually suggested a small change to one of his projects, and suddenly, he erupted in anger. This wasn't a reaction you'd expect from a minor adjustment, but it was an eye-opener. You see, this project was more than just work to him. It was his passion, something he had poured countless hours into. His emotional outburst was not about the change itself. It was about how much that project meant to him, reflecting a deeper attachment than he had ever expressed verbally. This reaction, in a single moment, revealed his priorities more clearly than any words ever could. People's emotions often expose what they care about, even if they try to hide it. Think about the boss who becomes visibly upset when their authority is questioned. It's not merely about maintaining control, it's about their sense of self-worth, which is tied to being seen as right and in charge. Or consider a friend who gets overly defensive at the slightest critique. It's not just about the comment itself. It might touch on an insecurity or a value they hold dearly. Then there's the person who beams with pride when they're praised for a job well done. That excitement speaks volumes about how much they crave recognition and approval, even if they never openly admit it. These reactions are like keys unlocking the hidden compartments of a person's priorities. Recognizing that strong emotional reactions, whether positive or negative, point to someone's deepest priorities, can change how we understand those around us. Many people keep a calm and collected facade, but when something they deeply care about is at risk, their emotions will flare up. It's not only in negative reactions like anger or frustration, but also in the moments of joy and enthusiasm. In relationships, paying attention to these emotional signals can be especially enlightening. If you're dating someone and notice that they get disproportionately upset when plans change, it's a sign that spending time together is a major priority for them. Conversely, if they become animated and excited when discussing future trips or activities, it suggests that creating shared experiences is something they value greatly. Emotions are intricately tied to values, and by observing someone's emotional cues, you can map out their priorities without them ever having to say a word. It's like having a direct line to their unspoken truths. A classic example of this is when people become unexpectedly defensive. Say you casually mention that someone has been late a few times, and instead of acknowledging it calmly, they become flustered and defensive. This reaction is not just about the act of being late. It might be tied to a deeper value they place on punctuality or the image of reliability they wish to uphold. Their emotional response is a clear sign that this aspect of their identity matters to them far more than they let on. It's their way of protecting a self-image that they consider crucial to their sense of self. From a Stoic perspective, observing these emotional reactions is invaluable. Stoicism teaches us to see things objectively and without judgment. When someone's emotions flare, it's often because something they deeply value is at stake. By understanding this, we can better navigate our interactions with them. If you know what triggers their emotions, you can approach sensitive topics with more empathy and care, or you can use this insight to build stronger and more understanding relationships. As Seneca stated, we suffer more in imagination than in reality, suggesting that understanding emotions can help us see through the facade and understand the true nature of our concerns and those of others. But the deeper Stoic lesson here is that our emotions reveal our own priorities too. When you find yourself reacting strongly to something, it's an opportunity for self-reflection. Why are you feeling this way? Is it because it genuinely matters to you, or is it a blow to your ego? Are you upset because someone has questioned your integrity, or are you simply reacting to a challenge to your reputation? Stoicism teaches us to observe and understand our emotional responses so that we can gain greater control over them. By identifying when our emotions are linked to values that truly matter, we can differentiate between what's important and what's simply a reflection of our pride or insecurities. Understanding people's emotional reactions gives you an edge, not in a manipulative way, but in a way that allows you to connect with them on a deeper level. It's about seeing through the surface to the core of what drives them. This understanding can guide your interactions and help you build more meaningful relationships both personally and professionally. But it's not just about others. It's also about understanding yourself. The more you observe and reflect, the better you become at managing your own emotional responses. You learn to recognize your triggers, understand what you value, and align your actions with your principles. So next time you witness someone reacting emotionally, take a moment to consider what that reaction might reveal about their priorities. Are they showing anger, excitement, or defensiveness? What underlying value is being tapped into here? And when you feel a strong emotional reaction yourself, use it as an opportunity to look inward. What does this say about what you care about, and how can you align this understanding with your actions? The ability to read people isn't about magic or manipulation. It's about paying close attention to the signals they give off, the emotions they can't hide, and the priorities they might not even be aware of themselves. This skill, grounded in Stoic philosophy, teaches us to observe with clarity and compassion, gaining wisdom not just about others but also about ourselves. By reading people honestly and thoughtfully, you navigate life more effectively, building genuine connections and fostering your own personal growth. That's the true power, to use this insight not for manipulation but for greater understanding and wisdom. 7. Pay attention to what they don't say. When trying to understand someone's true thoughts or intentions, what they choose not to say can be just as revealing, if not more, than what they express. In any conversation, it's common for people to avoid certain topics, shift conversations, or leave questions unanswered. These gaps in speech often expose deeper truths. Whether consciously or unconsciously, individuals often steer clear of subjects that make them uncomfortable or vulnerable, revealing a natural human instinct for self-preservation. We all have areas in our lives we'd rather not discuss, often because they threaten the way we wish to be perceived. In such moments, reading between the lines can tell you more than direct answers ever could. This is where Stoicism becomes invaluable, particularly Marcus Aurelius's teaching of observing without judgment. He reminds us to see things as they are, not as we wish them to be, and this applies perfectly when interpreting what is left unsaid in a conversation. One of the most common scenarios where avoidance happens is when people are confronted with difficult questions about past failures or personal shortcomings. For instance, in a modern workplace, you might ask a colleague about a project that went poorly, and instead of discussing what went wrong, they pivot to talking about future opportunities or plans. That quick shift in conversation is a signal that the past still holds weight, and there's something unresolved. People avoid discussing failures because they often fear judgment or a tarnished image. But as Marcus Aurelius said, if someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth. This willingness to face one's mistakes openly is rare, and observing when someone avoids this process can offer profound insights into their character. It may not mean they're hiding something sinister, but it does indicate an unwillingness to confront uncomfortable truths, which can be just as telling. In everyday life, you'll encounter this often. During casual conversations, meetings, or even discussions with friends, notice how certain subjects are avoided, or how vague responses become when a topic touches on sensitive areas. This doesn't just happen in professional settings. Even in personal relationships, people tend to steer conversations away from their vulnerabilities. Someone might avoid talking about past relationships, difficult family situations, or financial troubles, choosing instead to remain on safer, more controlled topics. By paying attention to these gaps and noticing when someone hesitates or shifts the conversation, you can gain deeper insight into their priorities and fears, often without them realizing it. Stoicism, with its emphasis on calm observation, encourages us to understand people's motives not through what we expect or want to hear, but by looking at what is unsaid. In a broader context, paying attention to what people don't say can be applied in various areas of life. from social interactions to leadership. When leading a team, for example, it's critical to understand the hesitations or topics your team members avoid discussing. Are they sidestepping a particular issue? Do they gloss over challenges or fail to address potential pitfalls? These are the unspoken cues that can guide you toward the real issues at hand, the ones that are crucial for problem-solving and decision-making. A true Stoic leader, grounded in the teachings of Stoicism, would listen to these gaps and use them to make better decisions. As Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." By focusing more on listening and less on speaking, especially to the unspoken parts of a conversation, you gain a clearer, fuller understanding of any situation. It's also worth reflecting on our own tendency to avoid certain conversations or topics. Are there parts of your life that you subtly steer away from when they come up in discussions? Stoicism teaches us to be honest with ourselves first, which allows us to better understand others. The act of avoiding certain topics can often be a defense mechanism, a way of protecting our ego or image. But to grow, as Stoicism and Marcus Aurelius consistently remind us, we must face the uncomfortable truths head-on. The object of life is not to be on the side of the majority, but to escape finding oneself in the ranks of the insane. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "This means not only recognizing when others avoid truth, but also challenging ourselves to stop doing the same." In practical application, this practice of observing the unsaid offers more than just a tactical advantage in reading people. It also deepens your connections. When you take the time to notice what someone is avoiding or hesitating to discuss, it gives you insight into their real concerns or fears. You can approach them with greater empathy, understanding that there are layers beneath the surface that they may not be ready to reveal. It's not about exploiting those gaps in conversation, but using them to connect more deeply and build trust. You'll find that when people sense that you're truly listening, even to what they aren't saying, they begin to feel understood, and often they'll open up more willingly. Ultimately, paying attention to what people don't say is a powerful tool for reading others, but it's also a reminder to live authentically ourselves. Stoicism and the teachings of Marcus Aurelius encourage us to confront uncomfortable truths rather than shy away from them. By applying this principle to your daily interactions, not only will you gain a better understanding of the people around you, but you'll also foster an environment of openness and trust. The next time you're in a conversation, don't just listen to the words being spoken. Focus on what's left out, the gaps, and the subtle shifts. These are the moments when people reveal more than they intend, and with practice you'll be able to see through the noise and understand the truth beneath the surface. And as Stoicism teaches us, clarity of perception is the key to wisdom and personal growth. 8. Body language never lies. Body language is one of the most powerful indicators of what someone is really thinking or feeling, and unlike words, it's much harder to control. People can choose their words carefully to hide their true emotions, but their body often tells the real story. How a person moves, where their eyes wander, how they sit. All of these gestures and actions provide subtle but significant clues to their inner state. For example, crossed arms often signal defensiveness. Avoiding eye contact might suggest discomfort or dishonesty, and constant fidgeting is usually a sign of anxiety or nervousness. Even in a world where many people are highly skilled at masking their feelings with well-chosen words, their body language still gives them away. Have you ever noticed how someone might say they're fine, but their body language, slouched posture, lack of eye contact, tells you otherwise? This is why body language is such a powerful tool when it comes to reading people. Stoicism teaches us the importance of being calm observers of life, and this is where reading body language becomes so essential. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, wisely said, "Look beneath the surface, let not the several qualities of a thing nor its worth escape you." This Stoic principle reminds us to look beyond appearances and focus on the deeper truths. Applied to human interactions, this means not just listening to what someone is saying, but observing how they physically express themselves. A person's posture, Their eye contact, and the subtle gestures they make during a conversation can reveal much more than their words ever will. This ability to read body language aligns perfectly with the Stoic goal of gaining wisdom through quiet observation and reflection. You don't need to press people with questions or confront them about their feelings. Instead, you learn to observe the unspoken cues that provide valuable insights into their true emotional state. Now, let me share a story from my own experience. I once worked with someone who was always verbally enthusiastic about every project we discussed. But I noticed during one particular meeting that whenever a difficult question came up, this person would avoid eye contact and shift uncomfortably in their chair. Their body language clearly contradicted the confident tone of their words. They claimed everything was on track, but the subtle signs, nervous fidgeting, avoiding direct eye contact, suggested otherwise. Eventually, I found out that the project was, in fact, struggling. The body language told the truth long before the words did. This is a perfect example of why learning to read these nonverbal cues is such a valuable skill in both professional and personal relationships. Body language never lies, and that's why it's such a reliable tool for reading people. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. In other words, a person's inner state, their true feelings and thoughts, will always find a way to show themselves, no matter how hard they try to hide it. This is particularly important in relationships, whether in business, friendships, or family dynamics. Being able to read body language helps you navigate situations with greater clarity and insight. You're no longer reliant on what people say. You can understand what they're feeling on a deeper level. Besides, Stoicism teaches us to be in control of ourselves and our reactions, and this includes our nonverbal communication. If you want to appear confident, ensure your body is open and relaxed, not closed off or tense. If you wish to build trust, maintain eye contact and avoid nervous gestures. By mastering your own body language, you can project the qualities you admire, calmness, confidence, and empathy, and others will respond to you accordingly. In closing, body language is an essential part of understanding human behavior. While words can be carefully crafted to mask emotions, the body often betrays a person's true thoughts. As you continue to learn and apply the principles of Stoicism, remember to observe without judgment and use these insights to navigate your relationships with greater wisdom. Pay attention to the subtle clues people give you through their posture, eye contact, and gestures. In doing so, you'll gain a deeper understanding of their true feelings and intentions. And just as importantly, reflect on your own body language to ensure that it aligns with the message you wish to communicate. By mastering this skill, you'll develop stronger, more authentic connections with the people around you, just as the Stoics like Marcus Aurelius would have encouraged. 9. The most honest moments are when they think no one's watching. If you truly want to understand who someone is at their core, watch them in the moments when they believe no one is paying attention. These are the times when people let down the masks they carefully craft for society, the personas they build to fit in, impress, or get ahead. It's a harsh reality to accept because we'd all like to believe that the face we show to the world is the same one we have in private. Yet, the truth is that people often behave differently when they think no one is watching. This duality in behavior can reveal a person's most authentic self, the version of themselves they might not even be consciously aware of. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher, once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." This teaches us that our true character is shown in how we act, especially when we believe we're not being observed. I once worked with a manager who was the picture of professionalism whenever the higher-ups were around. She would engage in polite small talk, maintain an air of calm, and always keep her voice level and composed. But as soon as the higher-ups left the room, it was like a switch flipped. She transformed into someone entirely different, snapping at the team, making condescending remarks, and treating people as if they were beneath her. It was jarring to witness this transformation, but it was also a powerful lesson. The person she became when she thought no one was watching was her real self. It made me question how often we see people wearing these masks, showing only the sides of themselves they want others to see while hiding their true nature when they think they're not under scrutiny. When people are in the spotlight, they become acutely aware of how they're being perceived. They act in ways that they believe will earn them approval, avoid conflict, or enhance their image. But when they feel they're out of view, that's when their true self starts to emerge. You see it in the little moments. How they treat someone who can't offer them anything in return. How they react when they think no one will notice. Or how they behave when they believe there are no consequences. In these seemingly insignificant interactions, you can see the real person behind the facade. It's the small, unguarded moments that reveal the truth, not the grand gestures made for show. Consider this in the context of romantic relationships. At the beginning of a relationship, everyone puts their best foot forward trying to impress the other person. But if you want to really know who someone is, watch them during the quiet moments, the ones where they're not actively trying to impress you. How do they treat the waitress at the restaurant? What are they like when they're stressed or when they think you're not paying attention? Do they still show kindness, patience, and respect, or does a different side of them come out? These small, seemingly trivial moments can tell you more about a person's character than any number of grand romantic gestures. I've seen this play out in social settings too. You might know someone who is the life of the party when everyone's watching, cracking jokes, being the center of attention. But when they think no one's noticing, they might act aloof, selfish, or dismissive. Their true character isn't on display in those big public moments, but in the small hidden ones when they think no one's paying attention. These are the moments that reveal who they truly are, free from the need for validation or approval. From a Stoic perspective, this insight is crucial. Stoicism trains us to observe life objectively, without judgment, understanding that people's true nature often reveals itself when they think they're off stage. Stoicism teaches us that virtue isn't about how we act when others are watching, but how we behave when no one is. The person who remains kind, patient, and respectful, even when there's no one around to witness or praise them, is someone who lives in alignment with Stoic values. Epictetus once said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This principle applies to how we conduct ourselves when no one is watching. It's easy to be virtuous in the spotlight, but it's the actions taken in the shadows that define true character. But let's be honest, many people aren't like that. They compartmentalize their public and private selves, acting in ways that serve their image in public while letting their less appealing traits come out in private. I had a colleague who was incredibly supportive and warm in group meetings. He always had something positive to say, and went out of his way to show support. But when we were alone, his demeanor completely shifted. He was short, dismissive, and uninterested unless it directly benefited him. That's when I realized his public persona was just that. A persona, a facade crafted for the public eye. His real character came out when he thought there were no consequences to his behavior. The most honest moments are not when someone is under the spotlight. They are when they think no one is watching. Whether they are acting with kindness or cruelty, these unguarded moments show the truth. If someone can only be good when others are watching, it's not real goodness. It's a performance. This aligns with the Stoic teaching that true character is who you are in the shadows, not in the spotlight. As Stoics, we aim to live in alignment with our values at all times, regardless of who's watching. Whether the room is full or empty, a Stoic's actions are consistent because they come from within, not from the need for external validation. Observing others in their unguarded moments gives you insight into their real character, but it also serves as a reminder for yourself. It's an opportunity to reflect on your own behavior. As you go through life, you'll encounter many people who show you only what they want you to see. It's in those quiet, seemingly insignificant moments that you'll find the truth. The next time you want to truly understand someone, don't focus on their grand gestures or public persona. Instead, pay attention to what they do when the spotlight is off. That's when you'll find their real character, and that's where the truth lives. Ultimately, understanding this aspect of human behavior can deepen your relationships and interactions. It can help you see beyond the masks that people wear and understand their true intentions. And in doing so, it also encourages you to live in alignment with your values, to be the person you want to be, even when no one else is around. Because in the end, it's not about the applause you get for your actions. It's about the integrity of your character when the audience has left and the curtain has fallen. As you observe others, let it also be a reminder to yourself to strive for consistency between your public and private selves, to live honestly and authentically in every moment. As we conclude this video on how to read people without them knowing using the principles of Stoicism, I encourage you to take these lessons into your daily life. By honing your observation, practicing patience, and understanding the unspoken, you can deepen your connections and elevate your personal growth. Remember, self-awareness is the foundation of Stoic wisdom, and it's through this awareness that we better understand others. What will you do today to apply these Stoic practices to your interactions? I'd love to hear your insights, so feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found value in this video, please give it a like, share it with others who might benefit, and don't forget to subscribe to Stoic in Your Life. Make sure to turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay mindful and keep growing.